Professional wrestling video games have come a long way in character realism, thanks largely to advances like 2K's facial recognition technology, which captures every subtle facial movement. But before all the high-tech wizardry, developers had to recreate wrestlers' likenesses with limited resources, often resulting in odd or inaccurate character models. Here's a mix of wrestlers whose video game appearances over the years missed the mark entirely. Dana Brooks' shocking 2K17 model WWE 2K17 on multiple consoles marked Dana Brooks' entry into the gaming world. Fans had high hopes for her model, but the reveal left many bewildered by a bug-eyed, unsettling likeness that seemed to have seen far too much. The subsequent year brought a vast improvement, as her model in 2K18 was a much more accurate and polished representation. Nevertheless, her debut remains one of the most disappointing first appearances in wrestling game history. Triple H's appearance has been a recurring issue in wrestling games, but WWF Raw on the Xbox and PC took it to a new level. The model featured an awkwardly smooth body texture, unflattering hair, and a bizarrely rendered face, giving him a plastic, lifeless look. Fans often rank this as one of the least accurate portrayals in wrestling games, particularly disappointing given the game's ambitions on the original Xbox. Edge had a rough time in video game portrayals, with many titles struggling to capture his likeness. SmackDown vs. Raw 2011 is a standout example of an awkward model that falls short, especially when compared to other wrestlers like John Cena and Batista, who looked far closer to their real selves. This streak of underwhelming models would only end years later with 2K's overhaul of his character in WWE 2K22, timed with his big in-ring return. Ryback's proportional problems in WE13. Ryback's debut in WWE 13 did him no favors. His character model suffered from unflattering proportions that made him appear smaller and squatter than he actually was. Thankfully, 2K14 corrected these issues and introduced a new feature called Superstar Heads, allowing players to customize popular wrestlers. Ironically, the option to use his WWE 13 head model remained, leading to a humorous reminder of the unfortunate proportions that had plagued his earlier appearance. WWE 2K20 faced a multitude of issues, and character models were no exception. The Rock, a centerpiece in the game's My Career mode, looked strangely unlike himself, almost as though he had been replaced by a look-alike. Given his prominent role, players were regularly reminded of the model's uncanny valley effect. For many fans, this only added to the list of infamous 2K20 missteps. Molly Holly's unrecognizable return in WWE 2K20. Molly Holly's big return in WWE 2K20 was supposed to be a momentous occasion after her absence since SmackDown vs. Raw on PlayStation 2. But instead, her model was so far removed from reality that it was nearly impossible to recognize her. Despite other wrestlers looking just slightly off, Molly's character in this iteration was almost a completely different person. Trish Stratus's debut disaster in WWF SmackDown 2, Know Your Role. Know Your Role on the original PlayStation gave many wrestlers an awkwardly blocky look, especially Trish Stratus, whose debut model was unflattering to say the least. With broad shoulders, a boxy torso, and the absence of a neck, this portrayal hardly resembled the real Stratus. As one of the more beloved wrestlers of that era, her early video game model is often remembered for all the wrong reasons. Booker T's WWE 12 struggle. In WWE 12, Booker T's character fell short compared to the excellent portrayal he received in the TNA Impact video game just a few years prior. Despite WE12's bigger budget and next-gen capabilities, the resemblance was notably poorer, leaving fans questioning how the game fell short where TNA Impact succeeded. Triple H's aged model in WWF No Mercy. In WWF No Mercy on the Nintendo 64, Triple H's character model was shockingly off, even by the standards of the time. His model aged him significantly, a far cry from his real-life look during that era. However, the choice to focus on gameplay over graphical accuracy in No Mercy earned the title its status as one of the most beloved wrestling games, despite its graphical shortcomings. George Steele's moveset fumble in WWE 2K24. In the latest WWE 2K24, George, the Animal Steele's model, is not a complete disaster, but the gameplay is another story. Known for his eccentric in-ring antics, Steele's character in WWE 2K24 lacks those unique animations, making him play like a generic character. Fans of the legendary Steele found the lack of attention to his moveset disappointing, even if the visual model was somewhat close to the real deal. While the technology used in today's wrestling video games has greatly improved, these missteps remind fans that even the best developers can sometimes struggle to bring a wrestler's personality and likeness to life on screen.